Discussions about racism in the United States are complex and involve examining a combination of historical legacies and present-day systemic inequalities. When people analyze this topic, they often point to the following areas. Historical foundations. Slavery. For over 240 years, the enslavement of people of African descent was legal and foundational to the nation's economy. This system was built on a legal and social framework of racial hierarchy. Constitutional compromises. The original U.S. Constitution included the 3/5 Compromise, which counted enslaved individuals as 3/5 of a person for congressional representation, institutionalizing racial hierarchy in the nation's founding document. Jim Crow laws. Following the Civil War, many states, primarily in the South, enacted Jim Crow laws. These laws enforced racial segregation in virtually all aspects of public life, including schools, transportation, and housing, and were upheld by the Supreme Court in the 1896 Plessy v. Ferguson separate but equal decision. Disenfranchisement. For a century after the 15th Amendment granted black men the right to vote, states used tactics like poll taxes, literacy tests, and violent intimidation to systematically prevent them from voting. Federal housing policies. In the 20th century, the federal government's practice of redlining deemed neighborhoods with minority residents as hazardous for investment. This policy actively prevented non-white families from receiving home loans, locking them out of a primary means of building intergenerational wealth. Treatment of indigenous peoples. U.S. history includes the forced removal of Native American nations from their lands, e.g., the Trail of Tears, numerous broken treaties, and the establishment of the reservation system and boarding schools designed to forcibly assimilate indigenous children. Present-day systemic disparities. Analysts often cite modern data on systemic disparities as evidence that the effects of this history persist. Criminal justice, incarceration. Black Americans are incarcerated in state prisons at nearly 5 times the rate of white Americans. Sentencing. Studies have shown that for similar crimes, Black and Latino offenders receive longer sentences on average than their white counterparts. Policing. Data has consistently shown that Black and Hispanic individuals are disproportionately more likely to be stopped, searched, and subjected to use of force by police compared to white individuals. Economic inequality. Wealth gap. The median net worth of a white household is many times greater than that of a Black or Hispanic household. This gap is largely attributed to historical disadvantages in property ownership, employment, and inheritance. Employment. Data from numerous studies has shown that job applicants with white-sounding names are more likely to receive callbacks for interviews than applicants with identical resumes but Black-sounding names. Healthcare. Health outcomes. There are significant racial disparities in health outcomes. For example, Black women experience maternal mortality rates at a rate 2 to 3 times higher than white women, regardless of income or education level. Access to care. Minority communities often face greater barriers to accessing quality health care, including lack of insurance, transportation, and implicit bias from medical providers. Education. School funding. Because public schools are largely funded by local property taxes, schools in predominantly non-white lower-income areas often receive significantly less funding than those in wealthier, predominantly white areas. Discipline. Studies show that Black students are suspended and expelled from school at rates more than 3 times higher than white students, often for similar infractions. These historical facts and modern statistical disparities are what scholars, activists, and sociologists typically reference when discussing the ongoing presence and impact of systemic racism in the United States.